When's the last time you tried to communicate out a big idea to anyone outside of you, to a team, to your organization? Maybe it was in a strategic plan. Maybe it was in an organizational change management and we had to pivot real fast. Was it all X's and O's? Was it just here's where we're going, what we're going to do, and how we're going to get it done? If you did, and if that didn't go how you thought it might, today's conversation is for you. We are talking with Stephen Smith, founder and lead strategist at Aerable. They are a marketing and strategy comms organization that help organizations clarify and cultivate the environment that is needed to be able to drive impactful results. And we're going to walk through their 7-ingredient process for strategic communication. Let's dive right in. Stephen Smith, thank you so much for joining us on the podcast today. I am so excited that you are here.
Glad to be here. This is just a privilege to be on the John Kidwell show. I mean, this is just amazing.
No, they told me I'm not allowed to use that name. No, they totally
No.
stuck with the Leadwell podcast, but you, my friend.
Right. I know what you are supposed to call it. This is what I call it.
Okay.
So,
all right.
Anyway, this is great.
Now, I know you as a fantastic communicator. I know you first as seeing you on stage communicating, leading an entire group through worship, through music, through also communicating on behalf of an organization. And I also know you as one that comes alongside organizations and doing that. So just give everybody else a little bit of that context.
Yeah, absolutely.
Of what do you do as you're working and walking every single day?
Yeah. My story basically is one of creative communication, and it changes modes. So there's a ministry mode, there's a business mode, there's a ministry to student mode, a music mode. You know, the road has been creative communication all the way through. What we are doing right now with our company Aerable is we are helping, just as you said, leaders kind of land vision, plant some seed for growth in their initiatives, and then help communicate that out to their stakeholders. So basically, there's a story that they're telling, and their stakeholders start with their team, and then it moves out, and then it moves out to their client customer base, then to the general public. So those are kind of that's the road that we're on with Aerable right now. We do a lot of different projects, but they all have this common denominator, this common soil of communication. Because we think, a plan is great, a vision is great, a strategic plan you've got in your hand in a binder is great, but if you don't know how to convey that to your people, to those incredible resources that are around you, it's going to fall flat. So we want to be about good communication.
I love it. You don't want all of our dreams, our aspirations, the big old ideal desired future that we see to be the thing that is only seen in our own mind. You help us get it all out there. And so we're diving in today to strategic communication, because you and I, we're communicating right now. And let's be real, we're being strategic about this with the podcast, but also we're probably not going to lay out any big old vision, but you have 7 things. Right. So I want to lay these out for folks.
Sure. That's great.
You dive into them. So
absolutely.
7 things that we can keep in mind for strategic communication: faith, vision, clarity, seasonality, poise. I'm intrigued about that one, as well as this next one, diplomacy, and creativity. So you have this 7 words in this framework for strategic communication. Start where we're supposed to start and start unpacking it for us.
Absolutely. So first of all, we don't think of it as a framework. What we're really trying to do with Aerable is take building language, industrial language, mechanical language, and return that to organic agricultural language. What we want to be able to do is take the leader out of the factory and put that leader in the farm. We feel like in the field or in the land, that is an incredible analogy for productivity. That's an incredible analogy for project timing, for strategic planning, and also cultivating your ideas. So we're really trying as best we can to emphasize agricultural language in what we do. So instead of a framework, what we're really trying to do is call this the soil. This
Mm.
is the soil uh, that leaders operate out of. So the soil that you plant your initiatives and your ideas in. So there are 7 key ingredients in our mind that we've come to that are integral for strategic communication. The first one is faith. As a leader, it is imperative that you are communicating more than just your ideas. And we're a faith forward organization, and so we're going to always coach toward faith wiring, faith outcomes, those kind of things. So in our mind, I want to do is point past myself as a leader. I want to be able to acknowledge that there's a grand design
Mm.
that we are tapping into, that we see in our mind, and that honestly the Lord has control of. And I want to lead our team into that grand design. So there's a place that we're pointing to. It's a place that's pre-designed, optimized for us and for success. So first of all, in when we communicate, we want to communicate with faith. We're going somewhere, and there's a purpose and a design to that. Secondly, we want to be able to communicate with vision. It's not enough just to say we're headed, and I'm going to use a analogy. It's not just saying we're all headed to North America. The vision would be, what city are we going to? What's it look like? What's it smell like? The second is vision. So there's faith. We're going this direction. There's a grand design. Vision would be really being able to see a destination um, for the leader, being able to see around the corner. Some people talk about like that, see this preferable future as it's referred to, being able to look in detail and walk around in that vision of a preferable future is key. Getting vision and the process of seeing in detail and all that stuff is
Hmm.
tiresome. It's
Yeah.
tiresome.
Well,
And
I'm sitting here thinking, you know, I am often one that can dream to look out
yeah,
into the future. I am a futuristic if we go on strengths
yep,
finders, right? And so
yep,
I often have the ability to see some of those things.
yep,
I struggle with connecting the dots. And so I we use the analogy, I've used this where it's like I'm on the other side of the fog. I can see this
uh,
big old bright beautiful future. I have faith that we're going to get there and that this
yep,
is a good and right and life-giving thing. And as I look back through the fog where others might be,
mhm,
I struggle connecting those dots. I'm guessing
yeah,
I'm probably not alone. What are some
mhm.
of the ways that you all take this very kind of big picture, high feel, high vision, not so concrete, and help leaders walk backward through some of that?
Yeah. I think one of the things that we're most excited about is the concept of slow productivity. I don't know if you've read this Cal Newport book that just
Yeah.
came out this
I
year.
haven't
Man,
read the new one. I'm only on deep work, but I've heard
yeah,
good
it's
things.
it's rocking our world. I mean, it is about slowing down enough, decelerating enough to be able to begin to connect the dots.
Hmm.
And a lot
Are
of
you
times
telling me that I'm moving
speed.
too fast?
No, of course not. I'm telling some other people, but what sometimes the dot connection and speed are incongruent. In other
Mm,
words, it takes a moment as we are looking out in faith, as we are trusting, then as we kind of see this vision begin to take place, we can almost be like we're driving 60 miles an hour and we only get pieces of it, you know.
mm,
But what we're excited about is slowing the leader down enough to be able to really live in that space. So,
mm,
like, calling things aren't as though they are, like, literally walking through the project in your mind,
mhm,
walking through what it looks like, feels like, tastes like, sounds like, all those things to get ready for the next step. And that is connecting the dots in clarity. That is being able to articulate the vision. Just as you referred to a second ago, vision is nothing without being able to move it out of your heart and mind and into the hearts and minds of other people. So
Mm,
strategic communication is about getting that vision brought down into some clear, concrete goals, clear, concrete descriptors,
mhm,
clear, concrete language that can really amplify and honestly describe in detail. This is what I'm going at. Describe in detail what that vision is. Nobody should know that or be able to describe it better than you. You need to put the work in. I need to put the work in. Being able to speak and articulate it clearly. I'm often the person that uh, I'm often the person that will say, "Why don't you understand this? It's so clear to me." you know,
Yeah, nobody else says that. It's totally just a you thing and,
yeah,
all of the other, 8.1 billion
yeah,
people or so that are out there.
yeah, exactly. And so what we try to do is an exercise that a mental exercise that helps everybody understand that we are all seeing in different futures.
Mm,
And the way we do that is we say, imagine you are in the desert with a telescope and you're able to see just an amazing view of a star field. Or you're able to see an amazing constellation or Saturn, even like we do in my backyard with my kids. You're able to see that. And then you're able to point to somebody who goes, come here, look through this so that you can see Saturn. What we do most of the times is we don't invite people to come see through
mm,
what we see. Everybody has their own telescope. And what are we doing? We are seeing different parts of the night sky. There's a word for uh, that. It's called myopathy or myopic. It means
mm,
I'm seeing my thing. So we like to call it you're in a complete me see mode. In other words, me dash see, not me see like
mhm,
the other thing, but you're totally me see mode. So what we try to do is take the team and say, look, team, you in me see mode, or are you in this other word when you're able to all gather around the telescope and look through one lens at the
mm,
night sky? That is, it's a synoptic. It means together see or we see.
mm,
So we want to move from me see, which is my version of the future, to a synoptic we see mode. And that's going to help with clarity immensely because you're able to say, guys, do we all see what's out there? And you've helped as a leader to articulate it. You've helped the leader to dial it in. And then once we all are seeing the same future, man, we're going to get there. It's awesome.
and as I'm thinking about other strategic planning or just strategic communication in general,
Yeah.
this is where it feels like a lot of it stops, except for the part where we kind of, okay, turn it around, use the megaphone, and start to
Yeah.
share it, right?
Yeah.
Because we believe in it, we know that this is the way that we are supposed to go in our heart and mind. All of the senses that you walked us through to get us to really feel and
Yeah.
experience and see that vision come to life, and then the clarity and the way that we can bring people into a synoptic view of it. That was so cool. But this is where a lot of places stop, and this is, we're not even half of the way through this
Sure.
soil that you all have created. So
Yeah.
seasonality, poise, diplomacy, and creativity.
Yeah.
My brain is immediately going back to the night sky analogy of like seasonality. Depending on when I look at this, I may or may not see Saturn. That may or may not be your analogy, but what does seasonality
No, but it's
mean in
exactly, yeah.
strategic communication?
Yeah, once you are able to get to we see and you're moving away from me see and you're into we see, then you are able to say, okay, let's now that we see this preferable future, now that we see this outcome, um, let's then plant the seeds to make this initiative grow.
Hmm,
The idea is, when do we want the fruit to happen? When do we want the outcome to happen? Well, we've got to back up from that outcome and understand that there are days, weeks, and months where that idea has got to germinate,
hmm,
where that idea has got to lay under the ground. where that
Hmm.
idea has to sprout, where that idea has to sink down roots, where that idea matures to the day when you're able to say, okay, we see fruit falling all around us. We see that because we planted in the right season. Not to take the
Mm.
analogy too far, but you ideas and outcomes aren't always in a 1 week, 1 month
Mm.
cycle.
Yeah.
It takes some pre-planning. So seasonality is all about designing a plan that allows your tasks to line up in such a way where the outcome happens at just the right time. The prep work is there, the cultivation has been there. You just don't plant in winter. You don't harvest in spring.
Yeah.
These are just some different things. And so, spring of the year could be, let's say, you know, you there's specific outcomes that happen in the spring of any
Yeah.
business cycle year, any nonprofit year, and then the things that happen in the winter and the summer. You just got to know when to plant and when to see that thing bear fruit. You don't want to run a capital campaign in the middle of the summertime.
Yeah.
Nobody's
Yeah.
there.
Nobody's there.
Everybody's
Everybody's on
gone.
vacation. Yeah.
So you're planting seed in summer to be able to then say, well, in the spring of next year, we'll then be able to see
Yeah.
this generosity initiative really bear fruit. So it's knowing when, if I could just say it like that.
100%. You and I were talking before about something that we are getting ready to communicate out. It's a tech product, an engagement tool for
Yeah,
organizations, for managers.
yeah,
And I, I've been doing this on paper for 10 years with teams that I lead.
hmm,
And I've wanted this ever since we started saying we know we need a
yeah,
platform. It's part of the vision that we have. And still, honestly, we've all started on different components over the last couple of years. And now all of a sudden, this one, because of a couple of key things from a couple of key clients that were looking for
hmm,
something that we've been doing and just thinking this helps us, right? Over the last couple of years, all of a sudden we packaged it and we put it together and we built it for them. And they say, this is great.
yeah,
Seasonality. I'm also just thinking here, not just the like, when do I run a capital campaign? This could be in the life cycle of an organization too, of,
oh
hey, it,
my
it
gosh,
wasn't time yet, right? Like, it's this extend out even further of, we want a new building. We want to be able to be to 100 team members. We want to be able to do this. And it's like
that's right.
all good, great things. And, not yet this season. Does it apply like that too?
And then I think it scales up like you're talking about, but then it also scales back to you as your leader and where you are in your life cycle, where you are in
Mm.
your professional life, and where you are. We we my son is 20, and he wants the benefit of being a retiree like right now. You know, he wants to watch first, and then what I mean. So it's funny. It's a process, and so that's what seasonality is all about. It's knowing where you are, knowing where your company is in space and time, and then knowing where you want to be. So
Mm.
that's seasonality. I think the seasonality and the next one, poise, really tie together. Poise is there's a I'll tell you the history of this word for me specifically. There was a speech I had to write in high school, and
Mm.
it was three keys of leadership, and poise was one of those three keys of leadership. So that's this poise word has always stuck with me. Poise is a really rich word for self control or being able to modulate, excuse me, your feelings or your
Mm.
emotions. A great leader said, "It's never as good as it is, and it's never as bad as it is." Its ability to stay here in this middle ground of appreciating the highs and appreciating the lows. That's where we get this idea of poise. Really, it's a self control. It's not a. Don't hear me say this is this is uh, rooted in stoicism, or
Mm.
this is not just a stoic idea. What I'm trying to say, where you don't feel anything, or like your Spock. This is not what I mean on poise. What I mean, it's a self control to be able to say on the bad days and
Yeah.
on the good days, I'm able to have faith. On the bad
Hmm.
days, on the good days, I'm able to maintain vision. On the bad days and the good days, I'm able to trust the seasonality. on the bad days and the good days, I'm able to clearly articulate my feelings
Yeah.
in a modulated way to the people
Yeah.
that are around me. So poise is just a really, really great word on that. So
Yeah, a lot of us would describe that as, emotional intelligence, or emotional maturity,
yeah,
where actually the most interesting thing that you're describing is not just the like live long and prosper Spock-esque where
yeah,
I just
right,
shut it all off and create this really narrow spectrum. You actually have to feel and experience the low lows and the high highs, and
yeah,
then just regulate, right? Modulate to
yeah,
be able to look at it and say, what's required of me right now, given what goals I have, how I want to
yeah.
show up, the character that I have, A, B, C, D. Is that right?
That's right. And so when it gets
Wow.
to strategic comms, especially for an organization, that's like the leader version. The sort of the
Mm-hmm.
organizational version would be, if you're getting bad press, bad PR,
Mm-hmm.
just hold on. It's going to be okay. Slow down. It's going to be okay. You might not need to respond to the bad immediately. You might need to let it rest. You might not need to maximize the good. Just let it rest. There's a poise no matter what season we're in,
Yeah.
highs or low, what it says on the charts and the spreadsheets. There's a poise that says we are going to be this type of group. We're going to maintain our vision and our values through the
Mhm.
highs and the lows. So it's a great
So
poise. It's a great word.
so good. And you connected it to seasonality. And I see that now, right? Like we're
Yeah, that's
going
right.
through, we're writing this. My brain initially connected it with diplomacy of like,
Yep.
you got to have some poise to be
Yep.
diplomatic. So I may have made that connection right, wrong, or indifferent, but how
Oh,
does it obviously in my mind it helps with diplomacy.
yeah. Well,
Walk us into what does that
yeah.
strategic comms look like in a diplomatic way?
Yeah, so fortunately, these are all ingredients in the soil that
Yeah.
are very closely matched. And what we're trying to do is we're trying to extract each of them and looking at them, and then also how they interrelate. So for me, diplomacy is key when leading interpersonally.
Mm,
This is assuming the best of the person across the table from me. This is showing interest. This is showing care. This is showing concern for their opinion. I have not always been a diplomatic communicator. I have been the opposite of diplomatic, which is direct. A
mm,
direct communicator means here's the solution, here's what I need you to do, and tell me when it's done. And that type of leadership um, uh, Liz Collins, Liz Collins talked about it in her book Multipliers. You got a multiplier or diminisher.
mm,
Multipliers are able to unlock the genius in people across the table. Diminishers are the ones that cap and force themselves and are the center of the world to the people. So those are the direct leaders. And what we like to do is we try to get our people that we talk to really on a scale between direct and diplomatic and just do a
mm,
self assessment. Are you more often diplomatic, where you are asking first, seeking to understand, as Stephen Covey talks about?
mhm,
You're really able to get to the root of the communication and the nugget of their
mm,
need, or are you do you have your interest in mind? Do you
mhm,
need to make the point? Do you need to have the final say? Do you need to flex on this
hmm,
person? So in the middle of the interpersonal part, it's about using diplomacy because diplomacy is understanding and care. Direct is very top down and corporate leadership, and really the model of a different generation. Yes, somebody's got to cut the knot. Yes, somebody's got to make the final word. But I'm saying
mhm,
on a day to day basis, can we practice more of this diplomacy? We think that that is going to be the key to a leader's success. Now, that's also assuming the best of your audience in
yeah,
the organizational side of things. It's there are marketing campaigns and there are lines and different things that said we know the truth and here's this and here's that, and we want to be able to express an opinion. But I think the some of the healthiest corporations are the ones that have amazing responsiveness
Hmm.
to their markets, to their people, to the people who inquire about why do we do what this and that's like, instead of it's a closed door all the time.
Yeah.
So really think about diplomacy as we talk about strategic communication. So it's good. And then our last is creativity, and this is
Which
really
is not typical of a strategic communication, right? Yours very much takes the form of an hourglass in my brain of we're kind of wide and we do narrow in and get clear and then it comes back out where a more traditional framework, as you said, yours is ingredients, looks a lot more like a V to where then it is a little bit more directive of here, go do this. And you open it back up at the bottom of saying, I've told you all these things. I'm assuming positive intent that we're synoptic and
yeah.
now you release it. Tell me about this
Yeah.
creativity and just what comes and how that looks inside of this.
So this is our passion. This is our passion. Creativity does not make it onto the list of leadership qualities. Top five, top 10, maybe top 20.
Yeah.
It's in there.
Yeah.
We're convinced that creativity, faith, vision, clarity, those are all a part of this idea of creativity. Seasonality, poise, diplomacy. We can do all of these things in a creative way. And so the big word is generative right now.
Hmm.
And everybody's talking about AI this and that. So generative ideas or generative images or generative content. And so in a way, this creativity word is about the generative side of your communications. It's about re uh, it's about let me figure out how to say it. It's about because it's so huge and so large. It's about a renewal in your messaging.
Hmm.
It's about saying the same thing, the ability to say the same thing in 10 different ways.
Yeah.
It's about creating, iterating a new solution for a problem. It's about understanding with these other components. It's about understanding how to dream in color. And most leadership, um, uh, I would say, if you ask a leader to describe themselves, creativity might not be, on their list, as we talked about a
Yeah.
second ago. But deep down, they are creatives.
Yeah.
Deep
Well, I
down,
mean,
they
if they have the faith and the vision and they're seeing it, it's already there, right? That's where
oh,
they've started. And like a tree, like I'm just I'm you got me on the cycle thing, so I'm envisioning like this thing comes up, it produces as it is supposed to, and then in a specific season
yeah,
there's stuff that's fallen off that tree all the time. I have
yeah,
raked my yard, I have pulled little itty bitty oak trees out of my yard, I have
yeah,
done all of those things, and then there are those that got big enough that my father-in-law was like, can we just dig that up and take it over to our house? Like
right, right,
it was
right.
always in a kind of mode of
Hmm.
creating, even as it was going.
Yeah. So this is idea of the entrepreneurial vision
Hmm.
being very creative.
Yeah.
These are the guys and girls who are saying, I see a field and I am going to go over to that field and I'm going to plant these ideas in this field to yield an outcome. We feel like this field over here of people or a group or whatever, our ideas would meet the needs of this particular group. We can cultivate some results
Hmm.
inside this field. And so there's the creative part of that. I also think that creativity is not limited, and hear me say this loud and clear, creativity is not limited to the creative department. It's not limited to your brand guide. It's not limited to an artist. I think creativity can also be found in amazingly uh, fluent and uh, elegant spreadsheets, amazingly elegant and fluent business processes. Excellence is that you know form and function where those two
Yeah.
meet together. That is creativity
Yeah.
personified. And so
Yeah.
for an organization on the creativity side, it's about instilling creativity in your team, saying we are better together as a group. we've got to talk about creativity. Creativity sometimes is real private. It's about saying in our communication to our team, we want your ideas, we need your
Mm,
ideas. And then on the larger organizational side, it's about um, showing your vision, showing your preferred future to your
mm,
customers, clients, showing this image in clarity. Not only have you
mhm,
done it to your team creatively, you're also going to use creativity to be even more clear to the people that are out there you want to inspire, that you want to move to point A to point B. So, strategically in our mind, what these 7 things do, they create a soil that you can cultivate as an individual, and
mm,
you can cultivate as a person that is a leader of people in your organization. No matter what level you are, you are able to communicate strategically to your team, both down and up, to say, uh, my communication is going to be fertile soil
mhm.
for clear, fruitful ideas to come out. So that's our heartbeat on strategic comms. This is kind of where we live right now with our teams and
Mhm.
the people that we are coaching. It's an interesting, 7 words to kind of kick around. So
It's so good and it's so rich, just like the soil that you are creating. And there's so much that we could go. We use an analogy similar in terms of personal growth, in that there has to be kind of these nutrients, honestly, that go in to be able to bring these about. And you've done it in a way and in a place that a lot of us don't think about that. We think about X's and O's and
good.
execution. That's what we really call it, right? And so thank
Yeah,
you for bringing that to us. We ask
absolutely.
everybody this question, and I want to ask you before we
Yes.
get ready to sign off. Stephen, what does it mean to you to lead well?
It's leading well is slowing down enough to hear the directives. And again,
Mm,
this is faith forward. Hear the directives, see the vision in our mind, and then being able to articulate that to people around you. Literally, we are funneling in what we're
mm.
hearing. We're funneling that vision down to other people. Again, this is creative communication. It's about then expressing it in such a way that it enlivens their heart and excites their mind toward this future that we're leading them to. So that would be what I would say,
I
leading
love
well
it. I
on
love
the
it.
Leadwell podcast.
There we go. See, not the John Kidwell podcast.
I
And
learned.
people need to know where to connect with you, to connect with Aerable, so that you all can
Sure.
help them cultivate these practices and these disciplines and just be able to bring the fruit of some of their amazing vision and the work that
Yeah,
they're doing. Where can people connect with you? Where can they learn more about Aerable? Give us all
absolutely.
the places we need to connect with you.
Absolutely. So we have a funny spelling for our name. It's Aerable. Aerable. It's the phonetic spelling of the word arable, which means good soil. So if you just Google the word Aerable, arable.co will be there. Our website is arable.co. Social media, arable.co. You can find us there as well. So, but would love to be able to connect with anybody who's listening and have a even longer conversation about communication when they're ready.
Awesome. We will put it in the show notes, direct link, so that you all can connect with Stephen, with his team at Aerable, and all that they're working on so that they can help you communicate and cultivate some amazing work and results where you are. Stephen, thank
I'd
you
say,
for coming
oh
on
my
today.
gosh. I say, John, thank you. I wanted to say this. Thank you for uh, being a part of my life, and your
Mm,
leadership is amazing. And what Leadwell is doing is just blowing everybody's minds. And with the book, with all of the things, the resources that you're putting in people's hands, we're blessed by your leadership in this space. So thanks you
mm.
so much.
Thank you. I
Absolutely.
I really appreciate that. I will also pay you as soon as we sign off. Venmo
Yes, that
direct
sounds
to
good.
Stephen Smith, and
Yeah.
to all that are listening. Thank you so much for being here. Be well, lead on, and God bless.